Hello, children of class 10, Karnataka Syllabus. Today we are going to deal on chapter 15, our environment. In the previous lesson, I told you about our environment, that is our ecosystem. How ecosystem is composed of living, non-living and natural objects available and how they interact with each other. That's what we call the ecosystem. In today's lesson, we shall see 4 important ideas that you should be able to understand and remember, not for the sake of examination, but for your own understanding of the nature itself. One is food chain in the ecosystem. Food pyramid means what? Food web and energy flow. So let us try to know what are these things. Now let us try to understand the meaning of the word food chain. Very simple things are sometimes difficult to answer and difficult to explain. So if a question is asked about food chain, you can answer in a number of ways. There is no need to write the diagrams of different organisms. First, let us say what is the meaning of the word food chain in the ecosystem. Food chain explains which living being eats which other living being in order to survive or live. Any organism, maybe one-celled organism or giant organism like a blue whale, require food to survive. All animals need to eat food made by other organisms, or they must eat other living organisms. Only plants do not eat either other plants or animals. It is a question you must ask for yourself why that is so in nature. Okay? Plants manufacture food from raw materials using solar energy, and plants become the source for all living beings. So food chain explains to you which organism eats other organism for the sake of living, for the sake of energy. That's food chain. So in the nature you find different types of food chains. For example, grass is eaten by some insects. Insects are eaten by frogs, and frogs are eaten by snakes, and snakes are eaten by birds, and birds are eaten by some other organisms. Like that, there is a chain of eating one animal and then the next animal, then the next animal, and it goes on like that. So for all these things, food is supplied by means of plants. So plants are called producers, animals are called consumers. We shall see more about this in the next PPT. In order to explain food chain, you should know that all green plants are called producers because they manufacture food using carbon dioxide, water and sunlight by using chloroplast. Only plants can do that. That means for all the living beings in the world, plants are the manufacturers of the food, so they are called producers. Animals are called consumers. They consume. Animals cannot prepare food, but one animal may become food for the other animal. So plants are eaten by animals to begin with. Animals eat other animals. So look at this beautiful nature. Plants cannot eat any animal except insectivorous plants, whereas animals cannot manufacture food except eating other animals. This is a wonderful thing. You should try to know why nature has produced two divisions, one producer, one consumer. Think of that and you may get many answers. Such links are food chains. Many food chains are seen in the ecosystem. You may see food chain in the forest, food chain in the pond, food chain in marine animals, food chain in deserts. So different types of food chains are possible in the ecosystem. In your textbook, there is what's called food pyramid. What do we mean by food pyramid? Now, if you say food pyramid, it refers to the dietary plan of all living beings. If you look at the eating habits, most of the animals eat what's called the carbohydrates. That is the base. If you think of a pyramid, pyramid looks like a triangle. See, I have shown in the picture a triangle shaped structure. The base of the triangle contains the food which is mostly used by animals at different times, maybe 5 or 6 times in a day. That kind of food is used. They are mostly carbohydrates. The second type of the food is used rarely. Maybe vegetables are used once or twice in a day, not all the time. Fruits are used once or twice in the day. And then comes the proteins, especially animals. If somebody is eating eggs or animals for their food, they will eat only once or twice, not all the time. And finally, the things like oil, butter, ghee is used very rarely. And this kind of arrangement of food based upon the dietary requirement is called food pyramid. In a pyramid, in a triangle, base is broader and the apex is small. That means the base contains food material used by living beings several times in a day. Another concept you should try to understand called food web. Links between different food chains in an ecosystem forms a food web. Look at the diagram. In this one, you see green plants are the basic suppliers of the food. They are the producers. From them, different animals eat different types of food. For example, if you look at this, green plant is eaten by the deer is eaten by the wild animal like tiger, and tiger may be eaten by something else, and birds are eaten. So I like that you find a crisscross arrangement of food chain. Many food chains will form what's called food web. So food web is a highly complicated arrangement where different food chains are connected and linked. Maybe the marine food system is connected to the aerial organisms like birds, and birds are connected to the forest organisms. Like that, highly complicated links for the sake of food can be seen, and they form a web. It's called food web. Try to remember, food web links many organisms in the ecosystem. One more concept you may have to remember called trophic levels in our ecosystem. We can see trophic level describes the position of an organism in the food web. It ranges from a value of 1 to 5. 1 trophic level 1 refers to producers. Trophic level 2 is called primary consumers. Trophic level 3 is called secondary consumer. Level 4 is called tertiary consumer, and the fifth one is called predators. What are they? I will explain to you quickly. One, producers means only green plants. They manufacture food and keep ready for the animals. Then primary consumers depend only on the plants. They cannot eat any other organism. And the secondary consumer refers to they can either eat some plants or they can feed on the primary consumers, that is animals. Tertiary refers to the third level where these organisms are highly carnivorous organisms. They cannot live eating grass or they cannot eat only the producers. And finally, the predators are those organisms, they depend upon the other organisms of the 4 levels. So this trophic level refers to, trophic means food, the levels of the food distributed in the ecosystem can be explained on the basis of trophic levels. Try to understand this in a better way when you go to higher class. Another concept you have to understand may not be in detail but at least in simple terms. It's called energy flow in our ecosystem. You know, plants manufacture food. To manufacture food, we require energy, also raw materials. Raw materials are derived from the nature like carbon dioxide and water, and the energy comes from only one source, that is sun. S-U-N, Surya, Kannadadalli helbekadre. So sun gives the energy, and only a small amount of energy of the sun is used by plants. You know, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of plants available in the world. All these plants, they got only one function: to capture the sun energy and convert that into food. And this food is eaten by primary consumer, that is herbivores. Herbivores are eaten by carnivores, and carnivores are eaten by other organisms. Like this, energy from the sun flows into ecosystem via plants and then to animals and then to animals, then to other animals, then finally to other animals. Only 10% of the energy passes from one level to other level, and plants can capture only 0.02% of solar energy. That means very limited energy is used by the plants to convert energy into food, and that also at each level 10% of the energy is lost, and this is called rule of 10. When you go to higher class, understand this one. Only one thing you remember is there is a energy flow from sun to plants, plants to animals, and those animals to some other animals. Like this, from animal to animal energy flows. Finally, energy available is very, very less, and this is called 10% law. You will understand this when you go to higher class. In order to remember some of the concept you have in chapter 15 and which I explained, let us try to understand 7 questions and try to answer them. Question number 1. Explain food chain. As I told you, food chain describes which organism eats which other organism, and that kind of link is called food chain. What is food pyramid? Food pyramid refers to dietary requirements of organisms, in which you can explain the food pyramid in the form of a triangle. Visualization, you can do it in the form of a triangle. The base of the triangle contains the food used by organisms many times in a day, like carbohydrates, cereals, etc. As we go to the top apex, that food will be used very less in a day or in a dietary plan. Why plants are more in number? If you look at the animals and the plants in the ecosystem, normally plants are in greater number. Even in the plant, the food manufacturing unit called leaves will be greater in number. Millions and millions of leaves can be seen in one plant. Why their number is so? You can try to answer that. What do you know about producers? Why plants are called producers? Try to explain that. Explain what is primary consumer, secondary consumer, and tertiary consumer. You try to explain that. What is food web in an ecosystem? Please think of food chains. Several food chains are linked together for the sake of food, and that you call the food web. How many trophic levels are there in the ecosystem? Try to remember the 5 types of trophic levels in the ecosystem. Finally, I must give credits to Bing for using online images so that you understand concepts better. I am grateful to the create that is Bing online and Karnataka textbook, and also YouTube for publishing this. I thank you all.